Good morning, everybody. As you know, my name is Richard Ball and I'm the Canterbury Group Controller. I think everybody was relieved this morning to see that the fire was greatly reduced, or visibly reduced. However, we will continue to work until it is safe for people to re-enter their properties. Our thoughts continue to go out to those affected. And as you will be aware, there are some remaining cordons in place for affected residents. We're now starting to think about the recovery phase and we'll be working with our community during that recovery phase. Shortly you'll hear from Dave Stackhouse, the incident commander, who's been out around this morning, and then we'll hear from police. We'll have an update for the Minister, and then from the mayors. I'd just like to also acknowledge the Minister's presence here over the last few days. He's been out having a look around, seeing what it's like on the ground, and he's been very supportive and we really appreciate that. Thank you. Over to Dave.
Morning. This morning we've just completed an aerial reconnaissance of the fireground. The fireground currently sits at 650 hectares with a 14-kilometre boundary perimeter. I have this morning 95 staff on site, 22 trucks and tankers, still remaining around 12 helicopters and 2 fixed wings just completing our retardant lines, 5 diggers and 2 heavy machinery specialist vehicles. The main emphasis this morning is to strengthen our fire break. I'm around about 70% contained on the fire, very comfortable around Early Valley, Hoonhay Valley, and down towards the lower end of the Dyers Pass Adventure Park area. Areas of concern still for me remain in the Summit Road and top end of Worsley Spur and the top end of Kennedy's Bush, which is where the retardant line has been placed. So the tactics this morning is to still hit it hard with lots of firefighters to continue to strengthen our fire breaks and remove all visible hotspots. I'd like to thank the public last night for their 111 calls. It's good to have the public eye out there, and we were able to respond to those 111 calls efficiently and nullify those threats. I've spent a lot of time planning to try and allow the public to get back to their normality as quickly as possible. I've allowed the roadblocks to be pushed forward into Early Valley and Hoonhay Valley so that most of those residents can return and get back to normal and start their recovery process. And I'm very mindful of the Worsley Spur residents who will be impacted, and I'm trying to get them access back into their properties so they can have some normality around our firefighting operations. But you will be cognizant of the fact that it's still an active fireground and there's still a lot of heavy machinery and helicopters with aerial risks. So I have to weigh that in consideration with public access needs. I've also allowed the contractors and the Adventure Park staff into the areas as well to understand what that looks like for them as far as recovery goes. I'll be doing a planning meeting this afternoon with my firefighting senior staff and my resource coordination centre. We'll be looking at future staffing for the next 48 hours to 72 hours. Then obviously looking, hopefully, with the weather conditions being mild easterly today, building to around 20 kilometres an hour. That should assist our firefighting operations. I'd just like to remind the public we're still in a prohibited fire season. Because outside of the threat at the Port Hills, I had to respond to 2 incidents yesterday of significance. And I'd really encourage the public to be mindful of that and not exercise any risk of ignition of fire, and be mindful and be my eyes and ears out there as well and get those 111 calls in if you see fire or smoke. Thank you.
We'll now hear from Ash Tab from the police.
Morning, Nakoto. I'm Ash Tab, Incident Coordinator for Police. Just at this stage, just in terms of an update, the investigation into this matter is still continuing jointly with Fire and Emergency New Zealand and Police. And a key aspect will be determining the cause, which at this time we'll be looking at the point of origin of the fire. However, at this time we still seek information from the public in terms of any footage or any other information around the time of the start of the fire, which as a reminder is 14th of February, Valentine's Day, just early afternoon. You can send that information in through either the channels that have already been made available through FENS or through police through 105 or Crime Stoppers. Just a reminder also about unmanned aerial vehicles, drone use. There is still a no-fly zone over the area. That really does place those pilots and those people in the area at risk if they're up, and it also prevents firefighting activity. So that's key that we don't have that. I believe fire and emergency will be using their own drones at times in terms of thermal imaging, identifying hotspots. So just want to let the public know if there are drones overhead that area, that'll be for legitimate reasons, and there is no use of unauthorised drones at this time. We, in terms of police, have a dedicated team working on this operation. We still have our normal Canterbury staff working on our business as usual aspects, but we do have staff who are going to be working on this until we see no need to, and they'll be dedicated into this area. We really want to provide reassurance to the community in this area that we are really looking after their properties and looking after their lives. And to assist that, we really want to still reinforce that we only want bona fide visitors, residents, contractors in the area. This makes it easier for the firefighting and other emergency service to work in the area, but the real big stress for a lot of these residents is people coming to watch and have a look at it. I mean, anyone who's under the stress that these people are around this area don't need members of the public just watching them. So we really encourage that no one's going into the area, and really want to thank those who have heeded that advice already. As Dave just mentioned, also we really want, not just in Canterbury, but anywhere, if anyone's seen anything suspicious or a fire ignite, to notify 111 as soon as possible. The sooner we get onto these things, the sooner we can extinguish them. And lastly, I just wanted to thank all the emergency services and civil defence and our mayors and the minister and that for the commitment to this operation in Canterbury. It's been really valuable, and it was a great commitment amongst the community as well to support. Thank you.
I'll invite the minister to come and speak.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Look, firstly, can I just support the inspector's comments around thank you to the community. He put out a plea on day one to say, please don't come into the area if you don't need to be there. It was important that fire are able to get their appliances and firefighters actually into the fire ground where they need to be. It puts pressure on the cordons. And can I just again support his comment around the drones? Do not fly drones around a fire ground like that. You've got helicopter pilots in there that are already concentrating hard in a difficult environment to try and get water onto the fire, and a drone, unauthorised drone, can take a helicopter down, or it can ground those helicopters and actually stop the firefighting that's taking place. So I just want to support his comments and reiterate that the importance of that. I want to thank and acknowledge actually everyone in the community, bearing in mind that we are still in a local state of emergency that has not been pulled. I want to acknowledge Dave and your team, the firefighters. They have been able to return people back to their houses quickly, and that shows that the 70% control that they do have of the fire actually allowed that to happen. I have no doubt in my mind that it was the speed. It was the speed of their response and the fact that they got the resources that they needed in there quickly that has got much better and faster control of this fire. Bearing in mind, as he said, that it's still not fully contained. Can I thank and acknowledge the community? Without a doubt, there's been enormous pastoral support that has been put around the residents. There has been regular meetings with the community, facilitated by the mayors and the council and our first responder teams. And actually, can I thank the media that are here today, because you have had an important role to play in terms of getting information out to the wider public as well, and providing some of that reassurance that is needed. I'm a huge admirer of the response here, the way the team has come together. Of course, I've been here to make sure that if there was further support needed, if there was a surge in support required from a central government point of view, then we would make that happen. That hasn't been required because the local response has been so strong. Thank you.
Phil, Sam, I'd like to say we've been up on site since 6:30 this morning, and it is a lot more comfortable feeling up there than it was yesterday. We went out early, we hit it hard, and it's great, but we mustn't take our foot off the throttle because there's still a long way to go. It could take days, it could take weeks to get hot spots out of it, but it is a lot better feeling up there, and I'm looking forward to when we can be told it's been contained. So just like to thank our neighbouring mayor and for the action that we took early on.
Yeah, great. Yeah, just really want to reiterate the thanks to the emergency services and the staff that have helped get this fire in a much better state today than it was yesterday and over the last couple of days. Particularly thanks for the on behalf of the Early Valley residents who were able to go home last night, and to the New Zealand response team who manned the cordon that only allowed residents back in there overnight. Big thank you in that space. Want to reiterate the messages today about not lighting any other fires. We know that harvest is happening across our district. This is not a time to light a stubble fire. It's not a time to light a little fire in a barrel. It's not a time to do anything that might create an ignition that's going to cause more stress on our emergency services. So our focus today needs to be on the Port Hills and getting this fire contained and allowing those that haven't been able to get back to their families, back to their homes, with their families, the ability to do that. And lastly, I'd just like to thank the families of our emergency services. For the last couple of nights, there have been mums and dads and husbands and wives who have been out supporting our city by not being at home, and it takes a toll on families, and so thank you to those families who are involved in that.
Thank you, mate.
Happy to take questions.
Can you tell us structure damage? How many structures you think have been damaged? And we know there's been one container home that's been lost.
Yeah, that's correct. At this stage, the only structural damage is some of those sheds and also a container house, which unfortunately, when we were doing the initial assessments, we picked up as a type of shed environment, but it was actually a container house. So my sympathies go out to the occupant of that and the loss, and I've got my community recovery team looking at that with that person.
I understand the fire was still quite bad up there yesterday around that property. How is that this morning? Obviously, that Summit Road area is still significantly of concern.
Sure, as I mentioned, that is still an area of concern, but the easterly wind will assist with that slightly. I have quite a heavy presence up at Summit Road, and some structure protection crews up there who are strengthening the fire lines around those remaining areas up there.
What's it going to look like before you're comfortable saying the fire has been contained?
Well, there's two things for that to happen. I need to be absolutely secure with the containment lines around that fire, and obviously that's 14-kilometre perimeter, is fairly extensive, and that's why I've been using the retardant lines to assist us with that. That gives us a starvation factor on the fuels around there, and if we do get a hot spotting from that, then it keeps the spread to a minimal effect and means we can get onto it quickly. The weather conditions have an effect on that, and how much deep hot spotting we have in some of those areas on those ridges. We have to get in there with diggers or by hand, and that's tough work for my firefighters under these conditions, and they're dragging hose lines over long, steep terrain to get into those positions. So that's what we're working on today.
Over the weekend, are there any weather conditions that have been forecast that you are concerned about that we could face more problems?
Sure. Up to, I think I've got a long-range weather forecast coming in shortly, but I think I've got heavy nor'west again Sunday, Monday, I believe, but I've yet to be confirmed on that at the moment. I've got quite a nice easterly benign wind, and that's very good for us at the moment.
Dave, still early days of the investigation, but is there any possibility that this fire could be suspicious? Is that still a possibility?
Yeah, sure. I've got my investigation team working in conjunction with the New Zealand Police on that. I have to let them do their work, so I don't want to predetermine any outcomes there. But as soon as we have more information, we'll provide that to you.
And you've reached out to the public about sending in photos and videos and things. How's that all going for you guys? Are you getting good public support?
Yeah, really good. Actually, the public have been outstanding, and I can just like to thank them and acknowledge them as we've done here, and the media as well. Everyone's contributed to a really good response here. We just can't sit on our laurels though. We have to maintain the pressure and really nail this thing.
Do we know if there's been any livestock losses?
In my aerial reconnaissance this morning, I didn't pick any up. We were actually looking for some of that. We've actively tried to manage access for the farmers and livestock owners to get in there and look at that. And we've had livestock plans in play for that. That was one of our learnings from the last Port Hills fires, and we've actively done that in the rest of New Zealand as well. Actually, it's a good thing to do But at this stage, I'm not aware of stock losses as such until we get it on the ground and actually with the people concerned.
Some residents were hoping to get back up again today because they've got livestock that they want to get water to again. Will you be trying to get them through as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So in conjunction with Civil Defence and my community hub, the idea is that they come in there, they give us their needs and we prioritise that, and then we escort them in to do that. Of course, because it's an active fire ground, we have to maintain safety. The pragmatic approach, I understand, and I will make every endeavour to get people in to do their business.
Can we get some clarification around the evacuations? I understand there's some confusion as to whether it was 80 in a total or whether there was a greater number at one stage. What's the current number of properties evacuated and how big was it?
Civil Defence probably got a count on that. I don't maintain the count on the evacuated properties. I just give the zone to be evacuated. Currently, I'm pretty comfortable with the lower end of Hoon Hay and Early Valley, which, as I said, we've brought those cordons right in to allow people to get in and get back into their homes. Worsley Spur and Summit Road are the two areas that I've got to manage today.
Could you talk through what you're seeing when you're up on that aerial reconnaissance flight? Are there still flames? Are there still flares?
Yeah, active hotspots. The public will still see smoke, and depending on the wind generating of that, and you have a sub-ridge here as you look out over from the precinct. It looks like the fire is encroaching or the smoke is encroaching on that area. That's not the case. There's a big valley obviously behind that. So you will see smoke drift today, but it's definitely not as aggressive as we've seen in the last few days, and I'm pretty comfortable that it's actually we're getting to the lower end of where we want to be with this. So a lot better today.
Are you expecting that more people may be allowed back into their homes today at all?
Yes, that's something we're looking at this afternoon, and I'm having a conversation with the controllers about and the New Zealand Police about what that looks like. So.
Question for the mayors. There's some suggestion that these fires, we've got to get into a mindset that and normalise the fact that we are going to have fires on the hills more regularly. Does that mean that we should be having a combined strategy with the two councils looking forward, a long-term plan about this?
We can do all we can to try and stop fires, but the thing that we have to do is be hand in hand and ready to go at the drop of a hat like we were, and that has made all the difference to let these guys do what they do
What
best.
about a long-term strategy? I mean, these fires are going to occur more and more, particularly with climate change. Do we need a longer-term strategy?
Well, you could look at one of the things that was noted the other day. You go up in a helicopter, and where it's been grazed, it doesn't burn the same. Where it's long grass now. We do want to try and get the Port Hills back to the way they were, and unfortunately long grass is part of that. So maybe we've got to look at how we manage that, because it's just all fuel up there that's ready to go. Poof. So there's all sorts of things. And different in, as well as what Sam was saying out in Selwyn, it's all very well we're here we are in Christchurch, you're looking at Port Hills. His area is vast, and you've had people doing stubble burn-offs the other day and stuff like that. You realised, didn't you?
Yeah, well, it's what we're trying to make sure we don't
Absolutely.
control at the moment.
So,
But,
yeah.
So there have been a number of changes since the last set of fires 7 years ago around what people need to do on their properties, and particularly what type of plantings there should be around their homes and things. What needs to happen on private land, though, is that sort of strategy that you're talking about. Is forestry appropriate? What sort of plants should be planted in large areas? What sort of risk does that pose to others when fire does break out? I think that's a wider community conversation than just for the two mayors of us to discuss today. But we do know that people have been sensible in thinking about the changes around their homes. But forestry is obviously a much longer term investment proposal, and to change that and turn that round won't happen, over the next couple of months.
Things had changed from last time, and they were being implemented, but unfortunately some of that's been taken away.
Dave, Wednesday overnight, Thursday, saw on Facebook some reports of people letting off fireworks in the Kashmir area. Has there been any more sort of instances of that carry-on sort of happening over the past few days?
Yeah, as you know.
Onto the microphone.
As you know, I've put a Section 52 fireworks and lantern ban in place for the Chinese New Year, and allowed the public display at Hagley Park to accommodate the public need for that. The fireworks ban is just another control measure that I have, obviously, and it's a public awareness factor as well. So there has been the odd incidents of that, and that are being investigated with my risk reduction officer team.
I think you extended the photographs from earlier a day there, is that right?
Photographs for?
Of the site or around the area?
Yes, obviously when we investigate any compliance issue, any evidence is useful evidence. So the public often provide that, so that's really good, so I encourage that.
On that evidence, is there anything that would be more useful? Is there anything in particular from Wednesday that you're looking for, cars or certain areas around the Port Hills?
Well, that matter sits with the investigation team. I try not to get involved in the investigation at this stage. I concentrate on the operational aspects of the incident and the strategic viewpoint. It's obviously part of my conversations, but I like to empower the New Zealand Police, obviously, with my investigation team to do their job, not influence them too much. They'll give me updates and we'll take it from there. But obviously any evidence is useful to be looked at, examined to see if it's useful for the incident.
Richard, can you provide that clarification around the evacuation, the current number?
I asked for an update this morning. I haven't received it, but based on my personal knowledge of the area, I would suggest it's less than 80 remain out of their homes. With the opening up of the cordons in the Hoonhay Valley and Early Valley, that number should be less than 80. Thank you all.
Thank you.